Good afternoon, YouTube viewers and subscribers. So today's video is titled A Twin for a Twin, a Quick Look and Comparison. And the reason I'm saying a twin for a twin is this channel that has become my hobby in the last few years is not an inexpensive hobby or means to experience a hobby. It's pretty expensive to keep cycling engines in and out. So one of the reasons, or one of the ways I have to keep this channel going is that I have to sell a lot of things that I have posted videos on my channel. So every video that you see on my channel, I certainly don't own all those engines anymore. I keep a good number of them, but one of the ways for me to continue getting new material to make videos of is I actually have to sell things. And I also do a lot of engine servicing work. So between selling engines and engine servicing work, that's how I kind of keep this going. If that stuff dries up, then we're kind of done. But anyway, so what happened here is I recently sold one of my larger twin-cylinder engines. I sold my Saito FA300TL, and I actually sold that and was planning on selling that before I even thought about getting this engine. But from some of the proceeds from that sale, I was able to buy this engine, which is just the cover right now because I've already taken it out. It's OS FT120 Gemini. This is not the Gemini 2, this is a first edition engine, and here it is right here. So I got this and I thought, you know what, a buddy of mine was buying a bunch of engines and he asked me if I was interested in this. I was like, you know what, I just sold one, and yes, I have always kind of wanted one of these, and the opportunity just wasn't really there. So the moon and the stars aligned and funds aligned, and now I have this engine. So this is the Gen 1 FT120, and these came out probably the late 70s, 78, 79, from the Scepter Flight article reviews I was reading about them. In low quantities then, but I think maybe in early 80s they were a little bit more mass quantity produced. I don't know the production life of this engine, but it does differ. Obviously, most of you are familiar with the FT120 Gemini 2, which I have right here also. And that's kind of why I've got both of these out. I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison of these engines because it's quite interesting because they have very significant differences. And let's start with the Gen 1 engine is actually about 2 to 3 millimeters wider. It's a little bit wider. It's going to be nearly impossible to see the width difference here, I believe. But suffice it to say, it is a bit wider. Another difference is that the jugs on the Gemini 2 are larger, and I don't know if it's just that they've got larger heat cooling fins on there that make it look bigger, but it's definitely, I can see a difference here anyway. Aside from that, the next biggest difference is going to be here when I flip these things over. The intakes are very, very different. Let me see here. So the Gen 1 has this Y-shaped intake manifold and the intake tubes, whereas the Gen 2 has a T-shaped and these rubber seals here. And so you can see that there's a big difference here, and I don't think any of the parts except maybe a couple of screws on this engine are interchangeable with this engine. They're two completely different engines, and effectively you say no parts are interchangeable at all. So, and that's why this was such a huge departure. They made this and then they went to the Gen 2 and they changed so many things, and it's just basically two completely different engines. Another thing that I thought was interesting, and a buddy of mine that knows more about these engines than me pointed out, is that the back plate of this engine, the Gen 1, see the vents here? Well, the back plate on this one actually has another screw that's tapped here, and you can actually move that vent over here, or you can just use this, open this screw up and use it as an additional way to flush or oil your engine. And on this engine here, the Gen 2, the boss is still there, but it's not drilled, so it's not a usable port. The other thing that's different here is the mounts while the mounts look similar, they're actually quite different. You can see here, this is actually where these mount holes are on this engine. So the mount that they make for both of these engines can be, the mount for this engine cannot be used for this, but the mounts for the later engines, the 120, Gemini 2, 160, 300, 240, 320 could all be used on this because they have this boss here, and I don't have a mount here to show you, but you can drill it and use that same mount there. Another fairly significant difference I think here is that you'll see the placard on this engine, and it says it's an OS Gemini 2, and it's got a serial number on there, and that's where they put the serial number on this engine. And the serial number of this one, wow, I didn't even realize this. That's kind of interesting. It says it's 0530, 530. Hopefully they don't recycle numbers, and that's really a low number for the Gen 2 or the Gemini 2 here. On this one, you'll see that there isn't a placard, but yet there is a place for it. So I don't know if, and a buddy of mine, Harvey, is going to check his Gen 1s. I don't know if this one is just missing from the engine, or if this is something that they put in place and they just didn't utilize it until later, because I have a serial number right here. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can read that. I can't tell if my camera's focusing or not, but it says 18,421. So that is a rather large number. I would have not expected this engine to have that large of a serial number. So what that tells me is that maybe this particular engine came at the very end of the production cycle or production life of this generation engine. And then also, because this one is a serial number 530, maybe these two things, maybe these two engines are actually more closely related in time than, well, I never really thought about it before, but maybe they're actually fairly closely related in time, maybe a year or two difference, I don't know. So that's some of the differences between the Series 1 and the Series 2 or Gemini 2 and Gemini engine. Now I haven't done anything to this engine yet, but experience has taught me with these multi-cylinder engines that it may look great on the outside and it may feel like it's got really good compression, which this engine does. It feels great and it looks like it's a very low time engine. I'm still going to remove this rear cover and take a quick look inside here, because that 320 Pegasus looked great on the outside too, and those of you that have seen those videos on that engine know it was not so great on the inside at all. So before I even think about putting this on the stand and running it, I'm going to remove this rear cover and kind of do a quick inspection of how things look in there, and that'll help me determine whether or not I actually need to go ahead and just tear the thing down and clean it first. The only other thing that I didn't mention was there are differences in the carburetors too. In fact, the carbs are completely different. They are not interchangeable at all either. So, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. This was a comparison of the two OS FT120 series engines, and I'm pretty happy to actually own one of these Gen 1s now. So anyway, thank you very much for watching.